Hello and welcome to Themes Trading, where we navigate the markets and bring you the best investment opportunities. Here with me is Peter Rosenstreich from Swissquote, Head of Market Strategy. Peter, what's really driving markets at the moment? Lots of noise on the political scene.
So we're not getting too much directional action. We're getting a lot of headline volatility, and that seems to be dominating market movement right now. And let me just list. It's quite enormous. So you have the Italian budget, you have NAFTA 2.0, you have U.S. politics, you have Brexit, you have China-U.S. trade tensions. All of this is causing a lot of noise, but not a lot of real direction. The reality is that, these are unresolved, difficult problems without a resolution, and underneath it, there's no real structural change. So as you can see in the S&P right here, we continue to see improvement on the equity front because there's really no reason to sort of change the outlook we have in markets right now.
I'll come back to that equity performance in just a moment. But that's quite the list, Peter, and we do like direction, especially as investors. So which of the issues that you mentioned should concern us most?
So probably Brexit. Brexit is extremely concerning because of probably the chaos in the UK political situation right now is not providing us much direction when it comes to a potential outcome. So right now, it's more or less a binary, hard or soft Brexit, and that's worrisome. But it's hard to make investments around that. So in that case, we're also looking at trade tensions. There's a lot of concern about the way it's going to erode growth. But the reality is we're just seeing a marginal slowdown in China. We're not seeing too much of a slowdown in emerging market export-led countries. And the reality is that global manufacturing, despite the hype, continues to improve. So we're seeing VIX, a measure of volatility, continue to go lower, and other indexes of risk really not jumping too high in a longer-term standpoint. I guess everybody's waiting for October. What happens at the U.S. midterm election? What happens with Brexit to really start panicking?
Peter, you say growth isn't being destabilized given the trade tensions. Is that the reason we're seeing oil prices go up and up and up?
Well, absolutely. One of the reasons we're not seeing a slowdown in China means that demand continues to be strong. It means that the rise in oil prices is being affected by the production issues. So we're seeing a decline in U.S. drilling. We're seeing supply concerns in Iran and Venezuela. The higher oil will have an effect in terms of inflation, the erosion of growth, and most importantly, how central banks are going to move their monetary policy. But we continue to see higher oil prices as the most likely outcome right now.
You have mentioned some uncertainty, some darker clouds on the horizon, yet those equity markets, as you pointed out earlier, do continue to perform very well. What's really behind that?
Well, the reality is that despite the hype and despite the sort of the outlook of clouds, dark clouds coming in, the global fundamentals remain relatively solid. We have global central banks are accommodative, so supporting risk-taking. And what we're seeing now is idiosyncratic risk on a national, but even on a corporate level, dominating the news. So we have issues with Tesla and Elon Musk, and we have Facebook and the recent hack as a core driver for prices more than sort of a broader trade.
Peter, isn't it unbelievable that a company like Facebook is still under threat from hacking?
Right? It's incredible. The size of the company, they pride themselves on being a pure technology play, that you think they would have their hold on cybersecurity, but yet they're under threat and basically losing the war. It creates a great opportunity.
Protecting cybersecurity is at the forefront of many companies' minds when it comes to technology, the infrastructure of the future. And you're so convinced you did actually put together a certificate here on cybersecurity. Maybe you can just give us a little background as to why you thought this was a great idea now.
Well, I think the Facebook highlights it. We also have North Korea. The U.S. is accusing North Korea of hacking. So it means that moving forward, you're going to have sovereigns and companies increasing their spending significantly to protect their primary assets. And you can see the improvement in these stocks as an index, as evidence that we're correct on this one.
So, Peter, just walk me through some of these companies you've included in your investment certificate. Some of them we recognize, some of them we don't, of course. Which are the stars, would you say, here?
So Symantec is a great name. It runs what we all know as Norton antivirus, which most consumers have on their personal PCs. It's the world's largest cybersecurity company in the world and continues to produce very solid products and stable revenue. Sophos, not a household name yet, but they're creating the next generation of endpoint solutions. They use a new software called Intercept X, which is producing very good revenue for the company. And maybe Palo Alto Networks. It has recently acquired a very important machine learning technology in Lightsaber, which will probably drive revenue for the next 2 or 3 years.
And I personally, Peter, was interested and curious to know more about Microsoft and what they're doing, given their history. What are they really doing to secure their products? Take a look at this. 2017, the year of Cybergeddon. Not a movie, but a new generation of weapons, cyber weapons, used not just by criminal organizations, but increasingly by nation states. It's the year that made tech giants rethink their responsibility to protect cybersecurity around the world. Cyberspace, the new battlefield, with attacks not just on machines, but attacks that are endangering people's lives.
Privacy is a human right, period. It means that for all of us on the planet, all people who are using in their daily life application services operated on the cloud somewhere in the world, which are going to connect them with other people, communities, services, they have the right and should have the right all the time to decide how much of their personal information should be shared and for what purpose.
Microsoft builds the products, operates the services, provides the infrastructure and the security. With its Azure Sphere solution, the 43-year-old company is shifting cybersecurity from an art to a science.
I do believe actually that I cannot make a global statement for everyone, every service on the planet. As a company, Microsoft, we have taken a strong stance in terms of enabling what we call the GDPR requirements on all our services. As you know, the EU has made a big move, actually in a way leading the world in having this core right being defined, spelled out.
We're moving into a serverless world where all our devices will be connected. And with $9 billion worth of Internet of Things devices being shipped every year, all powered by microcontrolled units inside, action is being taken to automatically secure every level, the hardware, the software, and the cloud. Peter, is protecting your data a personal concern of yours? Are you one of these that really tries to avoid too much online business if you can?
You know, I do. It's not because I'm doing anything nefarious and there's nothing sort of, some gem that they can uncover. It's the things that I don't understand of how they're using the data that I'm quite worried about. In light of recent revelations in terms of tracking, it makes me very concerned that I don't really understand fully how they could use my data. And that's my primary concern.
Lovely, Peter. Thanks very much for the insight and happy investing. Don't forget, cybersecurity is a hot idea of our time.